take it all in, one by one. Poet beats.
Greetings, beloved. Hey, y'all. Listen, Rev here. We are here again for another episode of the People's Podcast. I've got my co-host with us, none other than Lindsay Harper, but we've got a special guest today, none other than Alexander Easdale. He's the leader of the Southeast Climate and Energy Network. And guess what? Lindsay and I are both on the board of this particular organization, this flourishing organization who's doing fabulous work throughout the Southeast and beyond. I look forward to hearing from our guests. But before we hear from our guests, I want to hear from none other than the super fabulous Lindsay Harper. How we doing, Lindsay?
Hey, I am doing well. So glad to be here with you again, Rev, for another episode of the People's Power Podcast, where we talk to awesome people from across the Southeast and who talk about incredible issues, hard issues, impactful issues that impact all of us in our communities. And so Alex is a perfect person to talk to. And I'm super excited to talk to him because he's a great friend and great colleague. So let's do it.
Awesome. Listen, again, Alex is the executive director. He's the leader of the Southeast Climate and Energy Network. Alex took on a network that had been established, but at the time it had been pretty much stagnant. And he's taken that and taken it to other levels. I didn't say another level. I was tempted to say another level, but another level would say that it's just one. He's taken this thing to other levels, which means that he's magnified this thing tremendously. And we get to hear from Alex today. Listen, Alex, welcome to the People's Power Pod.
Hey, Alex.
What's up, y'all? Good to see you.
Good to
Now,
see you
Alex
too.
sitting up here in South Beach, Florida, y'all, with a hoodie on. I'm here and I got 4 layers of clothes on. He talking about it's cold where he is. I don't understand this kind of language.
My hands are frozen, y'all. All right.
Bless your heart.
I'm from northern Argentina and South Florida. I've been in hot weather my whole life. Okay. So my sister was here over the weekend. She's from Vermont. They were complaining about the cold. So Florida got something to say, y'all. All right. It's been cold. You know, maybe not like you, but I got my hoodie on. Very happy to be here, though.
I'm glad to have you, man. We of course we are very intricately involved in the Southeast Climate and Energy Network as board members and as member organizations within the network. But you, Alex, you have an opportunity or have had an opportunity because of the seat that you sit in to hear from those in the Southeast and beyond on our movement, this environmental and climate justice movement that we're part of. I just love to hear some of what you've heard or have been hearing, experiencing in today's time and where we are right now.
Yeah, before I get into that, Rev, so you give me a lot of credit. You give me a lot of love there, and I appreciate it, but it's not a one-person thing here. The two of you and many other individuals and organizations have been part of building up this network. I came in as a consultant in 2016 for the U.S. Climate Action Network, or SEN, or Southeast Climate and Energy Network. We'll just call it SEN from here on out. Was a part of it, and that was basically an informal network of organizations, climate and environmental groups in the Southeast that decided to kind of start to coalesce. So that stage of the development of this network is hugely important. And I want to give credit to Rudy Navarra and Kellen Garrison before me, who worked for USCAN and helped build this. I think that part of the narrative cannot be forgotten. So yeah, just very, very happy with what we've done. I can't believe that I've been part of this for nearly 10 years now as a consultant and the founding executive director of what is now an organization that basically manages an 84 member organization network, which is the
Wow.
biggest we've ever been. So Yeah, I didn't ask you a question there, Michael, but I definitely wanted to just give a frame a little bit here and give some context, before we get into it, so folks understand, that this has been building since 2008. So Sen's been around for a while.
No, I thank you for that, Alex, and really laying that out. As I said, it was established, and you come behind those who, remarkable leaders who established it and have taken it to other levels. And again, the question is, what are you hearing out in the landscape of the Southeast and beyond with the members that you actually um, are helping and supporting?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question for the past year, what I've been not only hearing but seeing, and it seems contradictory a little bit. So, as a network, and not only our network but other networks, and not just the climate movement but other movements, if you will, I've never seen so much cohesion, and I think that needs to be really lifted up because it's very, very important in this moment, and moving forward. That we are cohesive, that we support each other, in any way that we can. So our network feels very strong and unified right now. And again, I want to clarify: a network doesn't mean that everybody agrees about everything. We have difference of opinion, we have different, policy positions and what have you. But we work through things, talk through things, and I think it's extremely healthy. As we're all trying to build a better world and trying to protect our. So, what I'm also seeing is a lot of people are afraid. I have personally felt afraid. I have seen other people feel afraid, and I think coming together and being together has helped mitigate some of that. But there's fear. There are significant funding challenges that we've had since this second administration of Trump started a year ago. The funding community has been, on the one hand, some of them have been very, very supportive, and some are not giving the same amounts, or looking for new grantees as they used to in the past. So, seen a bunch of different things, Michael, but definitely not all bad, not all good either.
Sorry, I'm wondering in that. I know that we've had a great deal of political challenges since as you said, you and I have both been in this thing almost a decade now, Lindsay as well. We've seen the ebbs and flows. I can remember when I first started in working in the environmental and climate justice movement. Um, one of the things that I came to understand real quick, it wasn't no money in it. The second thing that I came to understand was there's a lot of work that had to be done with the political challenges that are happening right now. We're back to seeing that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. um, what are you seeing as far as the funding landscape of it, starting where we did start to where we been and now where we are again?
Well, let me say two things here, and I'm going to ask you a question in a second. So, first, I want to say that I have not seen this, what I'm seeing in the United States, since I've been here. I'm originally from the country of Argentina. Came here as a kid. My mom is American. I'm a U.S. citizen. Have been for a long time, and this is as much, if not more, my country than my home country. And I love this country, and I love the South. Um, I have not seen. I don't want to fascism. I don't want to see some of the things that we're seeing, with ICE, for example, not just in Minnesota but elsewhere throughout this country, targeted attacks against immigrants, but only a certain type of immigrants. You know, dragging people out of their homes. I mean, this is appalling what's happening, and it needs to be named because it just. I've seen this, and we've seen this happen in other parts of the world, and I'm not saying that horrible things have not happened here, but to watch all these things happening so quickly at the same time, it's terrifying, but at the same time, it's clearly part of a strategy that needs to be countered. So that's a very, very important thing to bring up, and it's something I'm happy to continue to talk about. As far as funding, it's the contrast between the first administration, the first Trump administration, when I'm coming into the climate movement, So I didn't know any better. But hearing other leaders talk about the fact that funders were looking for organizations to fund, okay, not just in climate, but in other movements, like they were looking for us. And that thread kind of spread through time, through that administration and then through the Biden administration. Funding was available. It's not never been easy to fundraise, but it didn't feel that hard. Once you had an established group of core funders, you could count on certain amounts of money helping your budget out, and then looking for new donors, right, to kind of build the organization up a little bit. And that's effectively what we did over a long time until last year. So the availability of funding then versus now is just a stark contrast. And don't tell me there isn't money available, because there's a ton of money available. So that's not the reason. The reason is, I believe, fear. The reason is, and this is at the very top. And I'm not talking about people that work in philanthropy or other work, that they are employees, right, of a foundation, and they're doing the best they can, but they're being given certain instructions. So something's going on here, but do not tell me ever that there's not enough money, because that's nonsense.
Well, I want to make sure that I'm transparent in this conversation. Not only are Lindsay and I board members of the Southeast Climate and Energy Network, where Alex leads, but Lindsay is actually the chair of the board. So I don't want to leave Lindsay sitting silent in this conversation, in particular while we're talking about some of the challenges that happen to networks and network leaders in this moment, but also because of Lindsay's role as the president, I think she has particular vantage point and experience that she can bring to this conversation as well. So I instead of Lindsay just being a co-host today, I'm gonna make her one of the co-guests as well, and ask you, Lindsay, this question. Looking at it from an organizational standpoint as the chair of the board, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing within the network, or as a chair of a board of a network in today's time?
Yeah, thank you, Rev. And Alex, I just want to say it has been a real true honor working with you. I've been in this chair role for a few months now, almost going on maybe a year or so, or maybe 6, 7, 8 months. And it's been a really interesting vantage point. I started out with Sin when it first became an actual organization, from just like a group of organizations to an actual its own 501c3, and have grown on the board and grown to being the president of the board. And so I feel like my vantage point has also shifted, standing at the various different places within Sin. And one of the things I've really appreciated about Sin is, first of all, it's been one of my favorite groups of people in the climate movement from the beginning. So I definitely want to say that, Alex, when you talked about earlier, like the people and the relationships, that's definitely something that I agree with. I think that as far as what Sin really brings into the climate space is really resources, information, and great relationships, people working on various different issues coming together. And I will say, to answer your question, Rev, one of the things that stood out to me in the SEN virtual convening last year was how folks have been talking a lot about how the funding ecosystem has drastically changed, and how, funders are not able to use certain words to describe their work anymore. People, applying for grants can't use particular words anymore. And so I would love to hear you, Alex, talk a little bit more about how groups are maybe having to shift how they move together in order to still get the work done, but also understanding that, and you're right, the money hasn't gone anywhere. It's just, but how do we work together and strategize to still get the work done and also have access to the resources to get it finished? And I say that because, not only is it the funding ecosystem, which has drastically changed, the political ecosystem has changed. But I mean, like, safety and security in doing this work has also definitely changed. Folks in the climate, justice, gender, race, all those words are like super trigger words right now. And so for people like myself who've been doing racial anti-racism, climate justice, energy equity work, how do we take what we have, get the work done, get the resources, but also stay safe at the same time. So it's like an answer to your question, Rev, and also a question to you, Alex.
Yeah, that's extremely well put, and there's a lot there, Lindsay. So let me start with how we protect each other and how we talk. So within our network, we have a working group call that happens every month. Everything is virtual except for one in-person meeting that we do. This year's meeting is going to be in November, and we call it the Send Convening, and it's a tremendous, very valuable experience for everybody, and it's a tremendous opportunity for us to get together and not only learn from each other and strategize, but also just have a lot of fun together. And it's really like a family family gathering. But how we protect each other is we've had conversations going back to last year, and as recent as December, I was convened by a couple of other network leaders for other networks in this country, um, to kind of have a conversation. What defensive strategies can we have, and what offensive strategies can we have with regards to protecting not only ourselves but our members, right? And I think that's a significant conversation because 60% of our membership, again, 84 organizations are formal members of SEN. 60% of them are groups that have budgets under $250,000. So understand that the majority of our members are small grassroots organizations, and that we have looked to support in many different ways, from helping them, help raising grants with them and for them, to re-granting, to providing scholarships and stipends so they can attend convenings, to sponsorships. I mean, we've done everything we could, and I wish we could do a lot more, and we're working on doing a lot more to provide resources to those members. And we've actually leveraged our bigger members to also provide resources to then channel them to our members. So basically, what I'm saying is, as networks, we're protecting each other. As networks, we're starting to talk to each other and figure out, okay, what resources do we have available? For example, if a PJC is under an audit by the IRS, for example, God forbid that happens, but if it does, well, there's organizations that can support with that. A Southern Environmental Law Center, for example, and NRDC and other groups, have the resources, the legal resources, right, to support, and help organizations that may come under attack. So we're having conversations, but very, very detailed conversations as to how to protect each other across the board as networks. And this basically covers hundreds of organizations. So I think, and I say this message to the funding community because we had an event in New York, Lindsay, where network leaders from several networks, including ours, sat in a panel during Climate Week. And then we had a funding panel. And the value of networks and what we bring was truly highlighted there in that event. And well, we got a grant out of it, and hopefully we'll get more. But pretty much, we are part of the solution here. This is not the moment for folks to be siloed and thinking they're alone. This is a moment where we have to come together and overcome differences, okay, and really understand that this country in many ways is under attack. And beyond this country, the world right now there's a humongous geopolitical shift happening. And if you study your history, the 80 years of, I'm going to say, relative peace following World War II, that's come to an end. This is a different world right now. And I think we're all kind of adjusting to it. But the best way to do that strategically is for us to work together.
Yeah, I think, Alex, it is. Well, I guess I'll push back a little bit when we talk about peace, and in particular when we talk about periodic time peace, if you will. For some folk, peace that had never looked like what it looks like for other folk. Even when I look at what's happening now, I have to say that I'm seeing some things that I hadn't ever seen before, that are new to the board as far as the assaults that are happening, or new methods of assaulting. Some of the people that are being assaulted are different, but the form and the reason hadn't changed. As especially as Black folk, I've always experienced what I'm experiencing now. It's just out in the open where other people are experiencing it as well. Um, but you alluded to something that I think helps all of us to overcome, that I really want to bring out, in this conversation, which also speaks to the reason for a network. The only thing, beloveds, that will get us through this challenging time that we're in is if we learn how to be community. I might have said this before on the People's Power podcast, but if I hadn't, you'll hear me say it now, and you'll forever hear me say it. The only thing that will get us through this challenging time that we're in is us learning how to be community. What a network does, and what in particular the Southeast Climate and Environmental Network does, it is a community, and we come together, even in our funding challenges, to get the work done because we share the load with one another. And that's the only thing that's going to help us to get through it. We can't be individualized now. If we remain individualized, they will continue to do what they're doing right now. We'll continue to be surveilled. We'll continue to be doxxed. We'll continue to be assaulted. We'll even continue to be killed in the street if we continue to operate as individuals. But when we come together as community, a lot of what we depend on as individuals become null and void when we operate as community. What our network does, and what many networks does, but what I've experienced in the Southeast Climate and Energy Network, is when one is in need, we all come together to meet those needs, whether it be funding, whether it be us sharing and programming, whether it be us collaborating on a solution for a community. We all come together as a community to see each other through this. And so I wanted to make sure I highlighted that. I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that there was a reason for networks. And I also want to make sure I once again give kudos to Alex for his leadership with the Southeast Climate and Energy Network. Now, what I would ask you in that, Alex, is on your leadership style itself, how do you keep your network members from operating in a scarcity mentality, especially with it being so scarce right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for that that reflection there as well, Michael. Rev, I mean that's very very significant. So I don't know, talk about my leadership style. Collaborative, democratic, but decisive. You know, I'm looking and always looking for people who are smarter than me, who kind of come in and tell you what to do as opposed to the other way around. People who are self starters. We built a really good team. We've had multiple teams. I've been doing this for a while within Sen, but the thread is that these are folks who are committed, who are self starters, who work really well together. I think it's very important also for people to have fun and get along with each other. But when it's time to get serious, it's time to get serious. And I think, the leadership style is one that looks to build up, not top down. You're always looking to kind of watch your people evolve and grow, and not be afraid to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. I don't want you in soccer and football, right? We say don't be afraid of the ball, right? So take a risk. If you make a mistake, just don't make it. Try to not make it twice. All right, just learn from the mistakes and move on from that. As far as a network, I think one key strategy is, and as you were talking, Michael, and I was thinking about how important it is for us to kind of converse, and this is in formal settings, if you will, whether it's a meeting or some working group, or even informally. Oftentimes at night or in the evenings, I'll go on a bike ride and put on my earbuds and I start calling people. And I've called both of you many times, and this on my bike. And sometimes those are the best conversations because they're informal. We kind of riff a little bit. Sometimes it's a 2-minute call, and sometimes it becomes a 45-minute, hour-long conversation. But I think, one of the things that we've done over the last year is, and Rev, I want to continue to give you credit for this because this was your idea and we're implementing it. We have a space now for executive directors in our network. Again, it's 84. I don't know if you've ever been a CEO or an executive director, or the top person in an organization, company, what have you. It's great. It's a wonderful opportunity and honor. It can also get lonely. Sometimes you think the things that are happening are only happening to you. So Friday we had our first call of the year, and Michael, you were there. We had several other EDs from the Southeast Climate and Energy Network there, and pretty much it just felt so not only just comforting to be there with peers, right? But also I was taking notes, and just some of the nuggets that I gleaned, and we gleaned from different people saying different things, was extremely valuable. So I think these are the kind of spaces, and that's the leadership style where it's like I don't need to lead everything. I don't always need to be in charge. Sometimes the best leaders know how to be good followers, right? So to answer your question, collaborative. To answer your question, right now we need leadership. You don't have to have a certain position, to be a leader. You can be an administrative assistant and be a leader. And I've worked with incredible administrative assistants who are leaders. So this isn't just for some of us.
Can
It's
be
for all of
hard.
us, if you
It
will.
can be hard looking at the landscape, Alex. And I say this as someone who has also been ED of an organization who understands what it's like to want to support your staff, support the organizations and the communities that you're working with, and really having to like maintain those relationships with funders. But like, what is it that you're hearing from funders, or is there anything you're hearing particular from funders around why they're only choosing to maybe fund so many groups? Maybe what are you hearing from EDs about how their relationships with funders? And I'm asking because as I've mentioned to you before, Sin has been such a great resource, and I feel like in this particular moment with this particular topic, and the way that you've led that's been so successful for the network, that there may be an opportunity in here for other folks to learn from what you've learned and how you move and some of what you've heard.
Yeah. So let me go back to that previous question real quick. Something I want to add to it. So our narrative within Sen, and this has been encouraged by folks like Michael and others. I hear myself saying we're winning and we're going to win. Okay, no matter how bad it is, we are winning. And I think you have to get that. Speaking of scarcity mindset, you have to get into. People don't change from one day to the next, right? It takes a process for people to kind of start to change thinking a little bit. So the idea here is for us to get into a winning mindset and start to believe that we're going to win, right? And I've seen amazing leaders like Colette Pichon Battle, kind of saying, we will believe that we
Yes.
will win, and I get pumped up, and early on when I was part of this movement, I would feel that energy, right? And we have to understand that we have to have an energy conversation. Let's get past this level and let's start talking at this level, right? And that's where we win, right? Energy, there's hate, well, let's love, all right? Love beats hate all the time, every day, right? So let's have a different energetic conversation, and let's change our mindset from a limited scarcity mindset. And you have to understand why we got there to begin with. And I'm still in the process of doing that. I find myself saying things like, I can't afford that. And then it's like, no, no, I can. There's abundance out there. The universe is abundant. The universe is trillions of stars. Are you
Right.
kidding me? We're a little speck of dust. You understand? We're a grain of sand in the ocean. I mean, so we have to also contextualize, what this is. And this right now, what's happening is a moment in time. All right. And there's been horrific moments, but we've never had this level of technology either. So a lot of this is very new, right? And some downright scary when you add in AI and what have you. So to answer your question, Lindsay, about the funding environment, I've heard a couple of things. One, I've heard some start conversations with certain funders, pretty much saying we're just going to wait out to see which groups make it or not. To which I had a very strong retort, and then we had very direct conversations. Because what do you mean you're going to wait to see which if groups don't have funding, right? If the groups are doing a good work, right, and they're being good stewards of the funding they receive, right, then why can't they continue to do their work? We need them right now. So don't give me this nonsense, right? And I'm not going to cuss in your podcast, all right? But don't give me this nonsense that we're going to wait out to see which groups make it. It's like if you don't provide us with food, you don't provide us with water, then how the hell do you expect us to survive,
Right.
right? So I've heard that. I've also heard that been very successful. And let me put context. I have a fundraising, grant writing background. It's not the one thing that I've done strategic planning, but as a consultant, I used to help groups strategic plan, raise money, write grants. You understand? So like I've been around the block with this thing for many years now, and I have done more fundraising and outreach to new donors over the last year than I think I did over the last 3 years combined. Just to give you an idea. So we've had successful conversations and a lot of conversations with funders. And I hear, we love what you're doing. We believe in you. We're sold. We're bought in. However, right now we're doubling down on our current grantees, and there's a funding freeze. All right. And I keep hearing this over and over and over again. And I'm like, what is it, me? Does my breath stink? What's the problem here? And no, and then, right? And then our deputy director, Amy Adams, just attended a conference in Atlanta, and we're debriefing. Check this out. I'm in the gym on Friday at 9 p.m., and we're debriefing. And pretty much basically she's saying, Alex, met a bunch of people here, and they're all saying the same exact thing. All right. It's a funding issue this across the board. And that's really sad because I wish it was my fault. I wish I lacked the talent to get more funding, and this wasn't happening to everybody else. But apparently it's across the board. And I'm not hearing a convincing argument as to why y'all are not doubling down and increasing funding. Now there are groups who are doing that. Okay, the Hive Fund is doing that, for example. Look them up. There's other foundations. Laughing Gold Foundation is another amazing funder. All right, they're doing that. So there's a group of funders that are not only continuing their grant making, but they're actually doubling down and finding strategies to support the entire field. So let me just not give a blanket statement to the whole funding community. But it is kind of interesting and a little disappointing with a lot of these groups, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Alex, I agree with that. I agree that we are challenged right now in great many ways, beloved. We are challenged right now. Um, we're challenged because the work continues. Not only has it continued, it continues to grow. And the challenges that we face in environmental and climate justice, or seeking environmental and climate justice. Um, it hurts us economically to have those who would have been at the fore in ensuring that this work continues, and a message that goes out to those funders. Uh, the work didn't stop. The issue wasn't resolved just because you pulled out, which I have to call you back to the table or ask, are you being cowards in this moment? Um, but lastly, I want to make sure that we've heard clearly that although we have these challenges, environmental and climate justice challenges, although we have funding challenges, we together are coming together as community, as a network, and putting solutions in place. And I wanna make sure, because the People's Justice Council, although we are intricately involved in Southeast Climate and Energy Network, that isn't the only network that we are part of, and the only network that we're akin to. And so I want to make sure I shout out all the other networks who are doing the frontline work and ensuring that their members are supported and cared for in this moment. But what they're actually doing for us is modeling for us what community looks like. And again, I'll say, if you walk away with nothing else, you know that you've heard about the challenges, but understand that there are those who are putting solutions in place to meet those challenges in these networks. And where it is that our traditional funders aren't giving, aren't doing, beloved, those who see the importance of our work, those who see the importance of those who are doing this work being supported, it's now your time to step up. And as always, I offer to you love, peace, and light.
Breathe in, breathe out, take it all in.